Hi, everybody. This is Sam Asaf,
And me, Victoria Khaftasi.
and we are Team Lychee, and we are going to be talking to you about digital identity in Canada. This is the Formathon challenge sponsored by Autorité des marchés financiers. But I'm going to start you off a little bit about the context. So the Autorité des marchés financiers, we know it as the regulatory body that oversees the financial services industry here in Quebec. Among its goals are foster that confidence in the financial sector the public requires to keep participating in it. They also look to establish a regulatory framework that will improve the way this financial sector performs. And one of its many areas of interest, and the one we'll be talking about today, is the concept of digital identity. So, Victoria, can you tell us a bit about what's the discussion like nowadays?
So that's actually a great question, Sam, because there are a lot of players in the ecosystem. So we talk to fintechs, we talk different representatives from banks, from supportive organizations and regulators. So from the perspective of fintechs, digital identity is vital because it enables consumers to connect their data, to share information, and make things easier. From the perspective of the banks, digital identity is also interesting because it enables them to get as much as information as possible about the consumers and to offer them relevant products. But there are certain issues that came up when we talked to people. Some were saying that consumers are concerned now because there have been so many data breaches. A lot of consumers don't want to give information. And also there is a great lack of incentive between banks and fintechs to share information. So everyone is very protective of the data that they collect.
If we want to talk about what the real problem is, we have to come up with a problem statement. If you want to put something in place, you're going to need to maximize its benefits and minimize its risks. But how are we going to do that? What's the thesis statement of what digital identity is going to do to fix this problem? We decided to go with how might we maximize the benefits and minimize the risks associated with digital identity for financial products and services.
Yes, we decided to replace the widespread sharing of demographic identifiers with anonymous biometric data.
Which is essentially digital identity. So what are other countries doing?
There's actually a bunch of variety of how different countries are tackling this global transition into digital world. And one of the very interesting ones is an application called Aadhaar that comes out from India. It's a 12-digit number. It's a unique identifier of the person, and it is completely digital. And it doesn't have any identifiers such as religion, health, or any additional information that you don't really need for financial services. And that's what makes it very interesting and unique.
So what about Estonia?
Estonia is very interesting because it is actually one of the most digitally advanced countries. They have a lot of fintechs, and the whole government focuses on transition to complete digital world. And what they have it is actually very interesting model that is government backed, and you can use it for pretty much anything that government plays role in. So it can be used for voting, it can be used for financial services, it can be even used for parking. Whatever it is that requires you to represent yourself, you can do it in a digital way. Beautiful Argentina, also a country that not many people hear about when they think about digital transformations. But what Argentina did is actually they launched the digital identification system that holds your biometric info. You have to confirm it obviously with an existing physical ID, but once you do that, you can access different services, and there's a push from the government to make it widely available in the healthcare and financial services.
Yes, that's the most traveling I'll be doing this year. Canada already kind of has a digital identity concept going on right now. There's this secure key concierge that we're all familiar with when we try to do our taxes. They tell us to log in with what? Our bank information. And the concept here is that the government trusts that the bank has enough information about you that it validated with government issued ID. And the government trusts that if you have access to your bank information, then you are you. So are you telling me that the government, trusts any bank's identification of you, but banks do not trust each other? Is that true?
Sounds like it's a case.
And why is that? It's quite simple, right? It's a perceived risk that, they're just not required to take right now. Yet, how are you going to improve this current model? If we piggyback off of that system, if we know that the government accepts secure key, valid digital ID, then the government can use that trust to issue its own Estonia-style digital ID that will certify to other institutions that you are who you say you are. And that digital ID will then be able to be used for most, not all, public services and select private services, like hopefully financial services. All they have to do is give it a catchy name like Canada and a cute mascot like a raccoon or something.
But wouldn't it be too complicated to roll out?
Well, not necessarily. You can leverage the institutions that already exist. You have government service outlets like the RAMQ, Service Canada. If the government trusts that the bank has enough information about you, why can't the banks play a role in rolling out these digital IDs to people? So that logistical issue definitely has its solutions. In terms of the devices, it can be done on any registered device that has biometric capabilities. And the required software infrastructure that you're going to need for that is already proven. It's done around the world. And that multi-factor authentication is used by many social applications. But here's my question back to you, though. Not everybody has these devices. So don't you think that some people are going to be left out? It's definitely something cool for someone like me, but what about the elderly?
I know, and there is a concern. Not everyone has a phone that has this advanced biometric capabilities, cameras, or whatsoever. So there is a technological drawback. There are also, just like we mentioned previously, some demographics are not represented. They have mistrust towards financial industries. They don't want their data out there. And there's also lack of digital literacy. But we have to remember that for now, it's a transitional period. Governments are not going to require strictly digital identity. As time goes by, digital literacy increases as well.
So you're saying that we're kind of future proofing.
We are, because we need innovation, we need better services, and it will come with time. It won't be fast, but it will change eventually.
So I'd like to go back to one of the points that you just mentioned. You said that some people don't trust financial institutions. I mean, look at
Yes,
what happened at Desjardins. That was a
I know.
national scandal. So what are some data privacy concerns?
One issue is giving away too many data points. So that's why we need to create a unique representation of identity that is more
Right.
secure.
Right. Like I'm going to the bank, they ask you like for very basic information, and then you end up just having to give them your passport, which includes so much more information than they asked for.
Your birth
Right.
certificate, some
Versus,
companies require that. And yeah, that's true what you're asking. Why does bank require all this information? So we could just focus on what is needed, and we could generate just a single math formulated numbers, and it can be assigned to the person without giving any demographic information, without giving any information that you don't want to be out there. That way you're mitigating risks that it's going to be leaked.
another point that came up was that your information will be stored with the identity provider. Then that makes it a central location, one place to hack. But the thing is that when it's coupled with biometric data points, then that data on its own doesn't necessarily mean anything until it's coupled with your biometric signature, the shape of your face, your fingerprint, even a saliva swab. It could be anything, right?
Could be any.
We don't know where technology will take us. When you turn your identity into something digital, progressively, the technology will start developing itself to require less and less data about you, to a point where when you trust it enough, it could even be pseudo-anonymous, that all you will be is some identity which is anonymous to the parties, but in the end, if required, can still be traced by the appropriate authorities. Ultimately, we're going to be able to reduce the amount of data that is required to onboard to new services. And I'll leave you with this thought. Do the banks actually really need your address? Do they need your date of birth? do they actually need even your name? Well, I'll tell you what, if they're showing up to my house on my birthday with a bag load of cash, I'll definitely give them that information. Otherwise, keeping it to myself. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
So
you for attention.
this is us, Team Lychee. Alex couldn't join us for this video, but thanks for all your support, Alex. You're great.
We're looking forward to what this digital transformation brings, but hopefully better security and better financial services.
Please reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're awesome people.